Good morning, folks. How are you? Good, good. Glad to see you all here. My name is Gus Hunt. I've been working with Dante and Damien for about 2.5 years. Mostly with Dante. I came into the organization just like all of you. Went to a seminar, decided that real estate was the vehicle that I wanted to use to go out and to make some money for myself to where I could feel comfortable in my lifestyle. So the first thing that I'd like to do this morning is have you all stand up, please. One thing about this business, you got to be excited. About any business, you got to be excited. So what I'd like you to do is turn to the person next to you and give a big high five. How you doing, Carol? All right. That's the hardest you're going to have to work this weekend. You can go ahead and sit down. How you doing, Elwood?
Great.
Looking good this morning. Looking good this morning. All right. I don't care what business you're in, you got to be excited about it. One of the big things that I think keeps me motivated and pumped up is the natural drug that we all develop inside of ourselves, and that is adrenaline. One thing that creates adrenaline is anticipation, fear, and all of those things that help you overcome the anticipation and fear is adrenaline. Have any of you ever been bungee jumping? No bungee jumpers? One of the speakers I'm going to bring up today, in working with him, and I met him through the organization, working in Dante's organization. His name is Tony Martinez. He and I last winter went out to Carson Valley, which is just outside of Reno, Nevada, where they're famous for hot air ballooning. We got in a hot air balloon, went up 400 feet, and jumped. So if you know what adrenaline is, that is true adrenaline. You can do that with real estate deals as well. And I think that's what we're going to try and accomplish this weekend, to give you an exciting weekend to help you go out and realize that this program is not a difficult program. This is probably one of the most simple things that you can do if you keep it simple. One of the things that I notice with a lot of people is they try and analyze themselves to death. And in doing so, they create so much anticipation within inside themselves, they don't do anything with it. Let me tell you a little bit about our company. The main name or the main company that you're going to be dealing with when you're working with our office is First Hybrid Corporation. Let me go ahead and throw that up on the screen. A lot of people don't know how to spell it. Neither do I. First Hybrid Corp or Corporation. Our number is 800-736-5263 or 800-736 or REO Land. Okay? Now that number is available to you at any time as an associate of ours. You are now lifetime associates. You've all spent the money to become part of this program for the rest of your life. At the same time, we're going to offer you free training through the office. You can come into our office at any time. As long as you set up an appointment with us, we do have an open door policy. The reason I put First Hybrid Corporation up on the screen for you is that that's the name of the company that you're going to hear of most when you're working with us. Like I said, I became part of this organization just like you. $20,000 in debt, living with my parents at 30 years old. My wife had left back to Hawaii, which is where I previously lived, with my child, who was at that point 3 years old. I had no idea where they were, had not seen them for 2 years, and had no money for an attorney to get any type of custody. So if you think that your life at this point is down, my life at that point was way down. What I'd been doing was for probably 4 or 5 years trying to get myself into business, being that I'd been in bartending for about 8 years, tried to open my own business. I've been watching late night seminars, or at least infomercials on television, and what I found was that half the time I ended up laughing at them. I thought they were funny. I thought they were a joke. I'd always heard they were a scam. But when you're down like that, when you're in the position that I was in at that time, it wasn't funny anymore. It was something that I seriously felt that I needed to go out and look at and give my mind to it, at least to understand it. So I went to the seminar, and fortunately for me, I think the major factor was that I was close to Dante's organization at that time as far as in a geographical sense. I was only about a half an hour away. So I kept working on deals, and using Dante's system and knocking down his door. And finally, they just got tired of me doing that and said, why don't we just hire that guy? So over the first 6 months, I worked on several deals with plenty of defeat, plenty of failure. One of the things that I teach in my class is you're going to fail your way to success here. And I don't mean failure in the negative sense. I mean that you are going to literally go out and experience things that you would not have normally done in order to create more knowledge within yourself, and that's practical knowledge. That's one thing you're going to have to realize, and you're going to hear throughout this seminar, is you're going to hear that if you're doing what you're doing currently, and it's not getting you where you want to go, then you have to do something differently to get where you want to be. Okay? That's going to be an important factor in your success in this business. So what I did was I got involved with the organization. I bought my first property, and then I started selling contracts. Now, Dante talks a little bit about selling contracts last weekend. He goes over the brief overview in the first seminar. Those of you who take action, see an opportunity, come to this weekend. We're going to learn this weekend how to sell contracts. Selling contracts is one of the easiest and fastest way to make money in real estate. And I'll go through that in a little bit. For those of you that can't see in the back, we are videotaping today. This is going to be used for all of our associates coming into the organization. So what I'd like to do is present all of you with the opportunity to get one of those videotapes in the future, because you are here helping us and this weekend, and we really appreciate it. So about 4 to 6 weeks from now, make sure that you get in contact with our company and get your videotape from us. We want to make sure that you get it so that you have all the notes that you need, especially if you can't see this screen. I'm not overwhelmed with its quality, but I think we'll make do this weekend. So what I've done first here is I put up a formula which you're going to see more than once this weekend. It's called GSA. It's called Goal, Strategy, and Action. You got to have all three. First thing that we're going to do in this class is we're going to set a goal. First thing this morning. And our goal this morning is in the next 6 months, we just want to make $5,000 in a real estate transaction. $5,000. Is that a lot of money in a real estate transaction?
No.
No, it's not. Do you think that if you put one deal under your belt, though, and you had that $5,000 in your pocket, number one, you paid for your program, number two, you feel confident, your shoulders go back, and you feel good about doing real estate deals? Absolutely. I can't hear you. Okay, this is a live presentation. This is what we call interactive training. We're not as interactive as some of our other programs, but what I'd like you to do is if I ask a question and you feel good about it, answer feeling good. If you don't feel good about it, let me know. Okay? Our strategy through this weekend and over the next 6 months is to sell contracts. Now, selling contracts is no more than taking a purchase agreement, negotiating the deal, and selling it to someone who can afford it. Because a lot of us here can't afford it. Matter of fact, a lot of us here are like me. We took our last $1,000 or our parents' last $1,000 and we invested in our future, or they invested in our future and said, hey, pal, this is your last chance. So a lot of us invested our last $1,000 in this program. Some of us would like to continue investing more into the program as far as our real estate programs. We have a lot of educational services, and you're going to hear about them all weekend. So for those of you that hear about these things, you get excited about them, but you can't afford them today, don't worry about it. That's why we're setting a goal to make $5,000 in the next 6 months, because I believe through using our organization, you'll be able to do that. The strategy is selling contracts, and action is the A. That is, you must take action, and you've got to start today. If you do have the money and you want to get involved, do it today. Do it tomorrow. If you don't have the money and you're excited about it, do it Monday morning first thing. I can't get yourself out of bed on Monday morning and make you go do this thing. But I can be there and have people in my office that can be on the phone ready to help you get started. All right? Is that fair enough? Yes. Okay, what?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. First thing I'm going to do is go over the books and tapes. Now, before I do that, I'd like to overcome just a couple of objections that I always hear. First of all, gosh, Dante, if you got so many good deals, why are you bringing them to us? Doesn't make sense, does it? And for a lot of you, maybe it does. Well, it makes sense to me, and that is this. Dante has an organization which is completely different than any organization you've ever seen. It's not just books and tapes. What it is is you have individuals who have come into our organization from the beginner level, from the intermediate level, and from the advanced level of different types of investments. For me, I was a bartender for 8 years. Before that, I knew nothing about real estate, but I was excited about the program. And when I got the opportunity to work within the organization, I really got excited. And the way I learned how to put real estate deals together was through talking to you over the phone. I had no knowledge. I didn't know what I was doing. But by you guys calling me and asking your questions, being out in the field doing it, I was then able to ask someone else in my office who knew more than me what the answer was. So I might have put you on hold 15 times during our conversation. That's how I learned. So what I'd like you to do is learn in the same process, just be on the other end of the line at your home or anywhere else that you happen to be calling us from. You can call us from any payphone in the country. So what I'd like to do is let you know that we have hot sheet properties available. And those hot sheet properties are a different type of animal when it comes to book and tape seminars. That's the reason that I'm here. That's the reason that Dante keeps people in the organization. Why would I want to go outside of Dante's organizations when I can achieve some of the best deals in America right where I sit? No reason for me to go anywhere else. I take the money that I developed through selling contracts, I reinvest it through Dante's organization. That keeps me in the organization. That keeps me making money. And it keeps me proud to be a part of the organization. And you'll find that with every other person, is that they're all looking for the opportunity to get involved with Dante and some of the big deals that he's putting together. So I have no reason to go outside of this organization to go on my own and to make millions on my own when I can do it right with Dante, and he's already doing it. And that's all you have to realize, is if you'll follow along and do the same things, you have the same opportunity. Okay? So that's why we're going to bring these deals to you. We buy in bulk. We give you discounts. We have a lot of great opportunities. You're going to see them this weekend. What I want to do is stick strictly to the educational process of selling contracts. So to start that off, I'm going to go ahead and go through the books. Now, in Dante's program, he has set it up as a 6-step process. Okay? I know everybody can't see this. We're going to have it on film. We'll make sure everybody gets a copy. There we go. Okay. First step, locate a property. Second step, physical and financial analysis of the property. Third step, make an offer. Have I talked anything about money yet? Have I said a word about partnerships, money, financing, anything like that? What?
No, sir.
Okay? So that gives you an idea of what you can do prior to actually ever worrying about where the money comes from. Granted, you've got plenty of money in our organization to use through Dante and Damien's investors, but we're not even worried about that at this point. So just relax. Have a good time. Enjoy what you're doing. Locate the property, physical and financial analysis, make the offer. Step 4 is financing. We've broken up financing and partnerships because they're two different things. Financing is basically going through conventional and unconventional means, whereas we are going to buy property for ourselves. Partnerships, we are going to use other people's money coming in. So that's where the financing for those deals is going to be, in the partnerships that we're going to create. Number 6 is sell and make a profit. Now, I'm telling you right now, you can't do step 1 and go to step 6. You have to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and step 6 in that order. Please do not vary. If you vary from that order, you will become confused and you will become frustrated. Therefore, your fear will be compounded and you will quit. And if you quit, what will you have? 0. Okay? So those are the 6 steps, and what we try and do in the first step to help you locate properties is we offer you the hot sheet book. Now, for those of you who have funds, or you know people who have funds that would like to get into some good deals, you've got the opportunity then to use the hot sheet book. There's complete analysis and descriptions of the property inside the book, and you'll receive these books at the end of tomorrow, Sunday evening. Okay? So this is probably the best way to locate properties, but for those of us who are going to do some work in our own areas and sell contracts, we offer what's called an REO guide. Now, you might want to write this down. We call it a BORE. The reason we call it a BORE is it means bank-owned real estate. Okay? Bank-owned real estate. What this is a national listing of all the banks that we have connected with over the last 10 to 15 years in business. So we have a computer set up with all of these different companies. These are our contacts. These are the people that we know have had real estate-owned properties. Also in our package, we have a lenders and brokers directory. Those are being shipped in today, so we'll try and get them to you tomorrow so that you have them to take home with you. I can't show you the book, but I will show you some slides of it a little bit later. So when I show you how to use the book. The second step in the second step in the system is to physically and financially analyze the property. Okay? So what that means, first of all, if we're going to do a physical analysis, we need to know just a little bit about property and how it's built. And what Dante's done is he's put a fantastic book together called The Investor's Inspection Guide. Okay? What this does, it gives you a checklist and a format to use when you go out inspecting properties. And I'll go through the best way to develop your physical analysis when I get into that step. But mainly, you can't become an expert at anything. All we want you to do is become an expert at making money through real estate, period. I don't want you to become experts at building homes or inspecting homes. But this book is going to give you some good guidelines when you do go out and you start practicing. We also have in the materials a book on the RTC and auctions. This is not an auction seminar, folks. This is a real estate seminar. Now, at the end of the weekend, I will be going through with some of you the auction program that we talked about last week. It's something that I've become involved in. I'm real excited about it. But what I'm doing this weekend over the next 2 days is teaching strictly real estate. So we're not going to go into auctions. But what this book does is it gives you an idea of who the RTC is, what they do, where they go. Craig, could you turn down the monitor just a little bit for me? I'm still getting a little feedback. Thank you. It tells you who they are, where they're located, what they're about, and it's good basic information about the RTC. Okay? Then we go into, the financial analysis. The financial analysis you're going to be doing through what I teach you today. And then also, you're going to be working with Wes Simmons through our office, and I'll put up his number and extension so that you can get a complete financial analysis done through Wes Simmons in our office. It's a computer professional analysis that will be done through you absolutely free as part of your program. Okay? So anytime you have a deal and you want to put a professional analysis together, Wes will help you do that. Today, in the program, I'll show you how to do what we use as far as the formula to put your financial analysis together. Make an offer. I'm going to provide you with contracts this weekend. We're going to go through the contract, read through it, and understand it. Thank you. You don't have a lenders and brokers back there, do you? Okay. So, if we're going to make an offer, I'm going to show you the contract. We're going to go through it individually. We'll spend about an hour to an hour and a half on that. Then when we go into financing, I go through this book. It's called Create and Capitalize on Your Credit. And what that does is it gives you an idea of how to go about cleaning up your credit or enhancing your credit or utilizing your credit to your benefit. And I'll go into that when we start our financing part of the program. This is a book that Paul just brought up to me. It's called Inside Info. This is the book that Dante talks about where all the banks are failing. It shows you the negative index inside this book about all the large banks that are going down. So if you want to have some, some decent information on banks that have had a lot of non-performing assets, it's going to be in this book. Creative real estate financing. For those of us who aren't quite yet sure about how we're going to finance the property, this book will give you a lot of creative ideas about how it works. Okay, about how financing works, about what you can do to take your own situation right now and make it better for yourself. Partnerships. Dante's put together this book on partnerships. Now, he has put a lot of money into the partnership agreement that's at the back of this book. And I would suggest that you don't use it word by word, that you utilize it in the sense that when you're putting partnerships together, you use some of the things that are in here. Because if you use it word by word, you're going to find that all partnerships change, as do a lot of your real estate deals. So your partnerships are going to be different. You know, there's one big difference between some of you and myself when I started. And I think it's a key. And I found that through putting on enough of these seminars, and that is this. If I'm broke, $20,000 in debt, with no credit, nothing to my name, and pretty much nowhere to go, what difference does it make whether I'm $100 million in debt or $20,000 in debt? It doesn't matter. If I declare bankruptcy, I declare bankruptcy. So all I can do is then go out and become successful. At the same time, we could be in the same room, and you could have excellent credit. You could be making $200,000 a year. You could be taking this workshop just because you want to learn more about real estate. Is there a difference between the two of us? Yes. There's a difference in the sense that you financially have a lot to lose. So what I suggest that you do is take my program this weekend and use it as practical, general, creative information, but if you can afford it, get an attorney. Because that's going to help you solve that problem of being able to lose the money that you have. If you just spent your last $1,000, I wouldn't worry about it. I'd just go out and start selling contracts as fast as you can. Okay? Step 6 is sell and make a profit. And in selling and making a profit, what we're going to do is obviously sell a contract using this program. Okay? So I will go through that at the end of the workshop and helping you understand how we sell the contract and how we get the money out. All right? There are 3 ways to deal with an investor. Okay? First of all, we can borrow the money from the investor. Now, what does it take to borrow money from somebody? It takes some collateral, but building a relationship with an individual over a period of time could be used as collateral also, couldn't it? One of the hardest things you're going to find is to walk out and start borrowing money from people. So the hardest thing that you could possibly do is go out and start a partnership by just borrowing the money, unless you're pretty darn good at negotiating. Okay? The second thing that you can do to bring that level of tension down between you and the partner would be to split it 50-50. Now, what I have up on the screen is what we call a FIFO plan. It's FIFO, or first in, first out. That means if the investor puts the money into the deal, who gets the first profits out? The investor. Okay? So the investor is going to get the money out first. What I put up here is partner versus partnerships, and I'll bring this up to the top of the screen so some of you can see it. Partnership versus non-partnership. And again, in this seminar, I want to keep it simple. I want to keep this as least liable, or keep you least liable as possible. What I'm going to work on this weekend is the fundamentals. And I think that all of you would agree, whether you have $1 million to invest or no money to invest, that the fundamentals are going to be extremely important to your success. If I don't use the fundamentals, I go out and take my $1 million, I invest it, and I make $4 million, but I could have made another $1 million. Did I just lose $1 million? Absolutely. And it could have been because I didn't understand the fundamentals. Okay? So I want you all to concentrate on selling contracts, not just those of you who spent your last $1,000 to come into the program. All right? So in partnerships, we have a higher long-term return. However, in partnerships, we also have a higher liability and a higher risk. Because now you're taking a partnership and having your name spread all over the paperwork and the deeds and the financing to these properties. Okay? So the best possible way to make money to get started without risk is a non-partnership, selling contracts. You got a quicker return with no risk. In real estate, there are 5 ways. You've heard of more than one way to skin a cat? Well, there's 5 ways to make money in real estate. Okay, some of them that we might not have thought about. First of all, when you buy at a discount, you're creating equity. Equity is the amount of money that you have sitting in the home that's not owed against it. Okay? So if you buy at a discount, you're going to have built-in equity. Okay? Second is appreciation. What you're looking at is your annual market upswing. Is your market in an upswing right now? No. You got a lot of opportunity, though, so don't get me wrong. It's just right now you would not have an opportunity to make a lot of money in the annual market upswing. Now in Reno, Nevada, do we have an upswing in our market?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we do. We have a huge upswing. And Las Vegas. The whole state of Nevada, one of the fastest growing states in the country. One of the reasons that we moved there, folks, is number one, they have great corporate benefits. Number two, no state taxes. And number three, when you come to visit us, we've got $7.95 lobster and steak. Okay? Third is cash flow. I wrote up the formula GMI. GMI means gross monthly income. You're going to see that a lot on a lot of different forms when you're looking at property analysis. So GMI is gross monthly income. All right? NOE is net operating expenses. That's what it's going to cost you after, or that's what your expenses are outside of the income coming in. If you take your gross monthly income and you subtract your net operating expenses, you multiply it by 12, being 12 months in the year, that gives you the annual return. Okay? So in order to find your cash-on-cash return, the investment percentage, your actual return on an annual basis, you will take the original investment that you made, whether you're leveraging in, which we'll go over later today, but leveraging meaning I'm going to take out a loan, I'm going to put a certain amount of money down, and that's my original investment. If I put $5,000 down on the deal, that's my original investment, not the rest of the mortgage. If I pay cash, that's my original investment. So I take my original investment, I divide it by my annual return, and that gives me a cash-on-cash return. So when an investor says, how much is the cash-on-cash return? You take the GMI, subtract the NOE, you multiply it by 12, that gives you the annual return, and you divide that by your original investment, and that, or I'm sorry, you divide your original investment by your annual return, and that gives you your cash-on-cash return. One thing that's key is you're going to need to know the foreclosure process. Some states vary. This is not a mortgage state. This is a trust deed state. So the way that the foreclosure starts is you start out with what's called an NOD. That is a notice of default. Okay? The second step, after 120 days after the notice of default, we have an auction. The people have not paid their bill, they have not recognized the notice of default, and now the property goes to an auction. If no one bids at the auction, like a lot of people are doing currently here in Los Angeles, then it becomes an REO. Now, I have no idea why they call it an REO. That means real estate owned. What it means to me is bank-owned property. That's what REO means, bank-owned property. What happens is the bank goes to the auction and buys the property back. Okay? How much does the bank buy the property for? Buys it for $1 over the amount owed against the property. Okay? That's where the bidding's normally going to start. Best place to buy the property? Right here. We've got a gentleman coming in later this afternoon that's going to show you a little bit more about locating properties to the county recorder's office and the notice of default. Worst place to buy the property? At the auction. Why? Well, everybody else is. You could get bid up on it. But the main thing is you need 10% down and 90% in about 48 hours. Now, is that all of you got 100% of the money to buy at an auction in 48 hours? I don't, necessarily, depending on the size of the property. What would an auction be a good place for? Well, spotting them and following them, but what else? Who is at an auction? Investors, people with 100% of the money, right? So if I go there and I say, hey, here's my business card, and I'm also interested in locating properties, if I find anything, would you be interested? What are they going to say? Absolutely, especially if we can get them into a better deal than what they're buying at the auction. They don't have to pay cash for it. Okay, so the auction is a real good place to locate investors, not a great place when you're getting started in buying real estate. And the REOs, which is the real estate-owned properties, is going to be through the bank. That's where you'll purchase it. And I would say that that's probably the second best place to locate the property, mainly because you're dealing with a committee anytime you're dealing with a financial institution. When you're dealing with a committee, which means more than one person, what happens? You've got more people making decisions, right? If you have more people making decisions and it's not Joe and Mary Smith who own the property, is it going to be harder to negotiate with Joe and Mary Smith or the bank? The bank. Okay? So the bank is going to be a little bit more difficult, but I don't discourage you from working through them, because the only way you're going to learn is how? By doing it. All right? And that's how you're going to develop your negotiating skills as well. Second thing I think you should know, and I'm not going to go in depth about it because we will learn more about it this weekend, is the lien process. Your first lien on a property normally is what? Okay? Now who can jump in front of that? What taxes? Who? Not the IRS. County. Property taxes. Not the IRS, okay? It's the only thing that can jump in front of the first mortgage. Now, why is the first mortgage always the first lien holder? Because it's the first recorded, and because they've also had title insurance issued against that property, correct? Would a title insurance issue title insurance if there were any additional liens on the property? No. That's why we can pretty much be assured that the first trust deed is always going to be your first lien. Now, what can be the second, third, fourth, and so on? Just about anything, right? Any judgment, second mortgages, those types of things. What happens when the foreclosure takes place, the first trust deed is foreclosing, and they only get the amount of the loan back? What happens to the rest of these people? They get wiped out. So do you see some leverage in here somewhere where we might be able to discount and buy before the auction? Does that make sense? If these people are going to lose all their money, can we go in, let's say if they are owed $10,000 and offer them $2,000? If I got a 30-day contract and the sale is in 30 days, either I'm going to get it or the auction's going to get it. What would you prefer? I prefer the $2,000 rather than the $10,000 getting nothing. Okay? And we'll go into that a little bit further this afternoon as well. Okay? I just want to give you the fundamentals, help you understand it. Remember, don't get discouraged if you're not taking it all down. It's all going to come along, and we're going to have the video available for you. Okay? So the first step in Dante's process is what? What? Thank you. Locate property. Right? Now, instead of just putting you out on your own, going out and locating property, what we've done is we provided you with specific information. We provided you with specific information which helps you go out and locate that property. And it was in the two publications that I told you about. First thing that we use is the REO listing. Again, this is a list of properties. A list of properties that Dante has been in touch with over a period of years. We have eliminated some of these properties, or some of the banks in this list, and we've added banks in this list, and we do on a continuous basis, on a monthly basis, as a matter of fact. This one, this month's will be provided in your package tomorrow night, and it'll be available to you. If you need to get a subscription to it, please call customer service, and they'll take care of you on that end. Now, how do we use the list? I think that's the most important thing. This is a sample of the list. It's right out of California. Oops, let me get the other one here. There we go. Okay, this is a sample listing. Now, what I suggest to you all, because psychologically it's going to deter you from being successful, is I suggest that at this point, when you receive it, you scratch that off. Okay? And what that is the location of the property. And the reason I say to scratch it off is because I don't want you going out and seeing these addresses and then finding out, oh, it was sold, 6 months ago, it was sold 2 years ago, whatever. I want you to contact the bank first to get their current listing. The reason that the address is up there to show you what type of properties were available and about the area that they were available. Okay? But what I would do when we first get started, when we're just out starting to make our phone calls, what I want you to do is forget about this. Don't go out and look at those properties. What we want to do is we want to concentrate first of all on the area that we want to invest. Okay? This is where this is the state, and this is the name of the lending institution. Okay? Now these are what we call conventional lending institutions. They will loan generally at your fair market rates, and they're going to be, generally full documented credit, that type of thing. So this is what you call conventional lenders, and these conventional lenders have at one time had REO properties. Boy, this thing sure isn't focusing very good. Okay? Now, along with the name of the bank, what we've also given you is the name of the person to contact. If that person is not there, then we need to find out exactly who it is that we need to contact. In some cases, it'll just say REO department. All right? Also, we give you the phone number of the institution. Okay? What I do when I'm starting out making phone calls is I take a map. Oops. Within an 8-hour driving radius. Now here you're in LA, you don't have to do that. There's plenty of properties to look at. There's literally going to be thousands for you to take advantage of within a shorter period of time than that. But since I live out in the boonies, what I would like to do is put an 8-hour radius together, and then I will make phone calls in that 8-hour radius. So really all I have to work with right now is Reno, Nevada, and Las Vegas. The reason I say 8 hours is I don't want you to drive 8 hours to every property. I want you to make phone calls, because what happens is banks have connections with banks. And what will happen is the more phone calls you make, the more success you'll have. Okay? So an extremely important facet of this program as we're getting started is your phone skills. And how do we develop those phone skills, and how do we get ourselves in a position to get the list that we need. This business is all about developing relationships. Okay? That's all it is. Anybody know what the term BS stands for? Bigger self. BS stands for bigger self. What you're doing is right now, currently, you may or may not have a lot of knowledge about what I'm talking about. Therefore, you need to go out and understand it besides getting the information here at the seminar. The only way you can do that is by doing it. The only way that you can convince someone that you can close a deal is by presenting a bigger self than you are today. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes. What? Yes. Thank you. So we want to have a bigger self, and in order to do that, we have to have knowledge. And in order to have knowledge and experience, we need to make phone calls. Now, if you make phone calls, let's say this month, and you fail your way through all of those phone calls, you make, let's say, no sense to the people on the other line. Next month, are they going to remember who you are, realistically? No, they're not going to remember who you are. So there's no reason why you can't get on that phone Monday morning and start making phone calls to every bank, every financial institution in this city and in every other county surrounding it that you're willing to do. How much do you want to make money? How bad? Doesn't sound like it. How bad? All right. So do you become a millionaire by working like a person that makes $1,000 a month? No, you make $1 million by working like who? Millionaires, right? Okay? You make money by working like millionaires. So if you want it bad enough, then I suggest that you make as many possible phone calls as you can out of this list. That's the secret. The more phone calls it's a numbers game. The more phone calls you make, the more contacts you make, the better you get at your phone skills. Now what's going to happen is you're going to make a phone call, and generally speaking, there's going to be a receptionist answer the phone. They're going to say, hi, my name is Jan, and I'm with such and such. How can I help you? You're going to say, hi, Jan, my name is Gus Hunt. I was just down in L.A. It looks like there's a really good opportunity for me to make some great investments down there, and I'd like to look at any types of properties that you might have. Is there someone in your office that can help me? Just a minute, Mr. Hunt. They'll ring me through to the manager or the REO director. Hi, this is John. How can I help you? Hi, John. My name is Gus Hunt. I'm calling from Reno, Nevada, and I was just down in L.A. I saw quite a few different properties that I thought would be an opportunity for me to look at while I was there, and I'd like to know, do you have any REO properties that I could purchase from you? Do you have a list? Well, Mr. Hunt, what I'd like to do is send you out that list. Okay? So they're going to send you the list, if they have them. If you call him up, and you give him an image over the phone that you don't have any money, is he going to send you a list? No. So you have to put your BS mask on, don't you? You have to let him, you have to be a bigger self and know what you're talking about, and the only way you can do that is by making phone calls. Does it cost you anything realistically to make a lot of phone calls? It's not a huge investment, is it? So you practice, you practice, you practice, and for the $1,000 that you spend on the program, you're still not putting out a lot more of investment capital to make these types of phone calls. So you go on with your business absolutely free. Okay? So you're making phone calls, you're making connections, you're developing relationships. Now the people that you want to develop relationships when we're locating properties are your conventional lenders out of the REO guide and the book that I didn't have in this package, which is called the Lenders and Brokers Directory. Now the Lenders and Brokers Directory has your PPB and CFL lenders in it. And these guys are your personal property brokers, and your consumer finance lenders. Okay? Personal property brokers and consumer finance lenders. They're a little bit different. They loan generally to people who have a lesser credit. More money down, lesser credit, higher interest rate. Okay? So, and a lot of times they also loan personal loans, cars, boats, planes, that type of thing as well. So they don't all have real estate. So the first thing that you want to ask them when you get on the phone is what? Do you have any REOs or real estate mortgages, correct? A lot of them hold second mortgages. So be aware of that. Okay? So they're going to have a little bit more motivation to work with you. I have bought found most of my properties and sold contracts through the Lenders and Brokers Directory. As a matter of fact, that book has paid off many, many, many times for me in the sense that I have found a lot of properties. Okay? Because they're easier to work with. The people have more equity in the deal. When we go through financing, I'll go through a little bit more about hard money lenders and PPBs and CFLs. Now this is what this notice is going to look like, and it's a little bit different than the REOs. First of all, in this, we don't give you an address of the property, we give you a name of the financial institution. Secondly, we give you the address of the financial institution, so if you want to go down there, you certainly can. We give you the town, the state, and also the phone number. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to call them up. We're going to say, hello, my name is Gus Hunt. I'm interested in buying real estate. If you have any REO properties, I would like a list. Now, a lot of the success that I've had have been with the smaller banks in the smaller areas. So a little hint for you is that you're going to find better deals probably in some of your outlying neighborhoods, not right here where a lot of the mortgages are with the bigger banks. The reason is because you have better customer service and a more personal approach to the institution. And that's what helps me out with the properties that I've purchased. I've been able to develop really good relationships with these people because of my phone skills and just being on the phone, going after it as much as I can. I've been doing this for 2.5 years, and I still do it on a weekly basis, make these phone calls. And I call them over and over and over. Do you think they know who I am now? All the banks know who I am. Okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to give them a call. Now, on these particular banks, you're going to be able to ask them if you can also purchase the loans. And that's something that's a little bit different. Now, on this, I've cut out the names to protect the innocent. But Dante talks to you a little bit last week about what we call a delinquent summary sheet. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Okay. Delinquent summary sheet is the inside info from the bank. Delinquent summary is those people who are not paying, however, the notice of default has not been entered. See, it's not public information until the notice of default has been entered, correct? So if I find out ahead of time through a bank what their default rates are or who's defaulting in their bank prior to the notice of default, is that inside information? Do you think I just walk into a bank and get it? No. How do I get it? You take them to lunch, you buy them a pen set, but you don't do that until you do what? Until you develop a relationship. Okay? You don't do that until you develop the relationship. So, I've blocked off some of the names on here because I don't want to disclose the people because obviously this is private information. However, this is not a list of delinquent summaries because they only had one delinquent. However, it is a delinquent summary sheet in the sense. First of all, it says at the top, if you assume this loan, it would be approximately $4,919.05 to bring current. Then take over payments of $983.81. So that's a no money down deal. Now, I don't think that the deal was that good. I didn't take it, but I could have just assumed the mortgage, taken over the payments, very low credit. Matter of fact, I possibly could have even had a bankruptcy or a foreclosure on my credit and still assumed this mortgage. Because it wouldn't have been any loss to them as long as they got their payments of $4,919.05, plus I started making the payments of $981. You see that? So I could assume this mortgage 100% with no money down. All right? Now, the second step says the NOD, or the second paragraph says the NOD on this property has not yet been filed. That's inside information, isn't it? Okay? So therefore, an application and monies to bring current is all that is needed to assume the loan. If you have any questions, feel free to call me, and then at the bottom it gives a property description. Okay? So that is a sample delinquent summary sheet. And what I'm showing you is some of the first stuff that I got back from these people as we worked through, and now I developed a relationship with Marta at this bank, and Marta and I work closely on a lot of other properties. As a matter of fact, she's calling me on a regular basis, letting me know what she has. So do you follow me as far as the process of the steps that it takes just in locating properties? First thing we're going to do is what? We're going to call the bank, right? Second thing, when we call the bank, we're going to ask for who? REO director. When we get to the REO director, what are we going to ask for? A listing of properties that they own, and if it's a PPB or a CFL lender, we're also going to ask if they have any loans that we can buy also. All right?
One other question.
Yes.
Will you be informed of all the encumbrances on the property before you take it over?
In this case, okay, the question is, would you be informed of all the encumbrances on this property? Okay? Okay, first of all, the bank is wanting to sell the property, correct? If the bank wants to sell the property, are they going to give you all of the information on the property that they possibly can? Absolutely. Okay, if you want to check it yourself, where would you go? You go to the title company, or you can go to the county courthouse. Okay? I can't take a lot of questions this morning, but I will. Go ahead.
In this particular case, no notice of default, so the mortgagees
rather, are still living in the property. You have to approach them and offer to buy the property from them before you assume the mortgage.
Let me explain to you what it is that this situation is, okay? It would be illegal for this bank to give me the information if it wasn't agreed upon by the people in the property. So, what the people in the property did was they offered what's called a deed in lieu. Okay? Now, you know what a deed in lieu does? They deed the property back to the bank and say, gosh, I'm honest, I can't make my payments, therefore I am. What does that do? That means when they file bankruptcy and their credit history goes down and then they start to redevelop their credit history, when new creditors are looking at them in the future, they're going to say, well, you know, John and Mary Smith were pretty honest. They deed in lieu the property back anyway. They knew they were going down. They didn't make the bank go through a lot of financial hassles. Okay? So in this particular situation, I believe that the deed in lieu had been issued in, or the deed in lieu had been issued, and the deed, in fact, was going back to the bank. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? But all it is, it's not a whole lot better than having a foreclosure on your credit file. But it's better because it shows that you were honest and you didn't make the bank go through a heavy process in recovering the monies. Now, this is the kind of information, this is the kind of letter that I like to show at the workshop to show you the type of relationships that I develop with the individuals in the office. You know, we work very, very hard in our office to help you folks. We're not there to just hang up on you or put you on hold or give you a tape recording. We are there, and we're there personally to work with you and help you become successful, because that's Dante's philosophy, that's our philosophy, and that's the only way I've found anybody in our office to stay successful is to help other people. So what I've done here is I've shown you a letter. These people are from Ventura, California. Their name is Charles and Veronica Hilly. Very good people, family-oriented. They're working very, very hard. They've been to a lot of our different programs. But Charles and Veronica and I have worked over a period of time, and what I did was a three-way call with them in the lenders and brokers directory. So what I would have them doing is sitting on the other end of the line saying nothing. We'd do a conference call, and I would negotiate getting the list from the bank over the phone. So if any of you want to take that opportunity on a Tuesday or Thursday, okay, write this down, Tuesday or Thursday, I'm in the office from 10 to 5 answering questions. If you want to set up an appointment with me, I will do a three-way call with you. And you can see exactly what I say to the lenders to get the lists. And we'll do it right here in your own area. Okay? Is that fair? Yes. What? Yes. All right. And what happened here was we called American General Finance in Oxnard, and it was they wrote a letter, attention Ms. Adrian. So what we did was we got a hold of Ms. Adrian. She was the one handling the accounts. And I said, look, I have some representatives in Ventura, and they would like to work with you. So what they're going to do is call you and introduce themselves. And she said no problem. But basically what she told me was that she had a property, in fact, and this was about after 3 phone calls, and that property was available. So they were listening in on the other end. We finalized the conversation. We hung up the phone, and they wrote her a letter. It was basically an introductory letter that says, we would like to introduce ourselves to you as property locator specialists. Mr. Gus Hunt contacted you last Wednesday, March 16th, in regards to properties in foreclosure and loan repurchases. He contacted us. We are Gus's associates, and therefore, this is the purpose of this letter. So now they've introduced themselves to Ms. Adrian, and what's going to happen anytime Ms. Adrian has a new property? She's going to call Charles and Veronica, right? So that's the kind of skills that, number one, we want to help you develop. Number two, the kind of help that we want to provide. And I'll tell you real frankly, you need to set up an appointment with me because I'm very busy. I'm traveling a lot, but I do have time for just about everybody that calls. Okay? So we need to set up an appointment. If you want to do that, let me know. Okay, now where are some of the other places that we can locate properties outside of the organization. Newspaper, lien sales, real estate agents, attorneys, county recorder's office, and FSBO. Does anybody know what that stands for? A financial bind. And that's going to be important for you to understand. Generally speaking, what I say is they're either too cheap to pay the real estate agent or they're in a financial bind. But are they going to come out right away and tell you, I'm in a financial bind? No, so you're going to walk through the door and you're going to do what with them? Develop a relationship with them. Okay? You're going to get to know them. You're going to do some inspection of the property. You're going to take a look at who they are. You're going to take a look around the home, see what kind of people they are. Take a look at their personal situation. Get to talk to them and understand them. Are you going to walk through the door and say, I don't have any money, but I'm just figuring this thing out? No. Okay? You got to have that BS mask on at all times. You want to have your bigger self in front of everybody at all times when you're doing this business. Okay? So for sale by owners are an extremely powerful way to locate properties. Okay? And that's what I suggest to you, because you're going to need 3 to 5 hours a week during the weekdays to do this business. You might want to write that down, just as a part of your goal setting. 3 to 5 hours a week during the week to make phone calls, to make contacts, and to take people to lunch. You're going to need 3 to 5 hours a week. All right? So find it somewhere. If you have to do something that you really want to do it. Okay? Make it happen. I don't care if you're working 20 hours a day right now. Find 3 to 5 hours during the weekdays. The rest of your time on the weekends, and I'm not just talking about Saturday and Sunday, because some of us don't have just Saturday and Sunday off. On Saturday and Sunday, though, when most of us do have that time off, what should we be doing? Looking at properties. How bad do you want to make money? Real bad. Okay? So do you think that I just worked a few hours, or 8 hours a day at Dante's office when I first got started and then went home and worked in the yard on the weekends? No. I spent all of my time, Saturday and Sunday, looking at properties, inspecting the properties, developing relationships with the owners of the properties, and also going to open houses with real estate agents. I spent a lot of time going through the newspaper and looking at open houses with real estate agents. If someone is a professional and they're licensed at something and they have a lot of knowledge at something, what's the first thing that they like to do? Talk about it. We got some pretty sharp people in here today. I like the answers that are coming out. They like to talk about what they know. Do you think I enjoy putting on real estate seminars? Absolutely, because I get to talk about what I know. And I get to meet and develop relationships with so many different people. So real estate agents, I'll tell you right now, they love to talk about what they know. Do you know how many real estate agents? We got quite a few. The most successful people I've seen in this business and talked to over the phone in this business are real estate agents that will take conventional thinking and their conventional programming and put it into unconventional ideas, of which we're showing you this weekend. They take that combination and they're willing to take their information and they go out and they actually do something with it. Those are the most successful people I've seen. So if you're not a real estate agent and you'd like to have that knowledge, what do you need to do? Pair up, right? Get together with a real estate agent. There's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, it's going to help you 100%. And if you can show them what you've learned and they can change their mind from conventional to unconventional thinking, you're going to have a real powerful team. I have a real estate agent that I work with very closely in Reno, and he's the one that sold me my first property, and I'll be showing you that after the break. Okay? Now, when we're going to the open houses, are we going to walk in letting them know we have no money? No, because what's going to happen? They're going to blow you off. Okay? They're not going to want to deal with you. All right? So if they're not going to want to deal with you, then what's going to happen is you're not going to get any information. All right? So we need to get in there and we need to look at the property as though we are going to buy it. All right? So that's going to be a key to developing relationships with real estate agents and getting close with them. Now, on the for sale by owners, oops, not in that. The title companies are going to give you information regarding the properties. They provide you with what's called a property profile. All right? The property profile will give you information regarding where the property is located, who owns it, what's owed against it, any types of liens or encumbrances against the property, and also what we call a CMA. CMA is comparable market analysis. Comparable market analysis. That is properties that have been sold and their price in the neighborhood, and other properties, properties in the neighborhood of the property that you're looking at, their price, what they were sold for, the listing date. It also gives you properties that did not sell, their listing price and the listing date, and properties that are up for sale, their listing price and their listing date. And what that does is it gives you a fair market analysis of what the properties in that particular area are worth. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that your property is worth the same. It's going to be dependent upon the different aspects physically of that property and also the size of the property. But it's going to give you a fair idea of that neighborhood. Okay? A customer service person at a title company is making about how much money? About $5-6 an hour. So if they're not helping other people, being customer service oriented, what are they doing? They're doing what their boss has told them to do, either copying copies, typing up letters, what have you. So if I was making $5 to $6 an hour, what would I rather be doing? Typing up papers and making copies, or working with people at the front desk? All right, so who's a good person then to make a good relationship with? The customer service person at your title company, right? They are going to be a key asset, especially in California. Now, if I go to Florida, if I go to Georgia, some of those states where they're mortgage states, they don't have those types of services in some situations, so it makes it difficult. But here in California, you're going to have a lot of different title and escrow companies that are going to be able to give you good services and property analysis.
What is the difference between a mortgage and a first trustee?
Nothing. It's just a different term. Okay? The foreclosure process is different.
Why doesn't Florida have this? I'm from Florida. California does.
I couldn't tell you. I was learning about Florida when I went out to Florida. I know more about the western states and first trust deed states. Okay? The question was, why is it different in Florida than it is here? It's probably just the way it was set up originally, and then it moved on to the west, obviously, and changed based on population and size and that type of thing.
I mean, why is it different working? No customer service representatives.
Why? Okay, why is it different in a mortgage state than a trust deed state? The reason is because they use attorneys rather than escrow companies. They use attorneys in the foreclosure process rather than a notice of default. They don't use a notice of default. They list 4 times in the newspaper, and then they use an attorney to close up the deal. Okay? So they don't use a notice of default. Okay? Yes, Carol.
The impression that the CMA is much more complete than the comps, or are they the same thing?
Okay. Yes, he's asking the difference between a CMA, a comparable market analysis, and a comps. And they're the same thing. Okay? Same thing. Now again, it doesn't give you an absolute of how much the value of your property is based on the CMA.
Well, that question that they ask in regards to Florida, if it's a mortgage state, the length of time will be approximately a year. In a trustee state, it only takes 90 days in which to clear it out.
Right. In a trust deed state, it is a much quicker foreclosure process. Just to go back to the difference in mortgage. But see, we're here in California, and I don't think any of us are going to be investing in those areas, so I don't know that that's real important right now. I want to keep the questions again to the minimal. We are going to try and get through this. We've got a lot of different speakers, so let's keep the questions specifically to what we're dealing with right now. Okay, so we got realtors that we can develop relationships to locate properties. We've got your title insurance company, customer service representative to develop a relationship with. Now, at the county recorder's office, how many of you know how to go through the process of looking up the liens at the county recorder's office? Just a few. So who are we going to develop a relationship with there? The clerk, right? We're going to get involved with the clerk, and we're going to go in and we're going to be real what? Real nice. We're going to be real nice because what do you think the county recorder's clerk is going through every day, especially in L.A.? Oh, tons of people. People. If you're not super nice to that person, I'm telling you right now, you'll never get any information from them. But they will teach you how to go through the process. Generally, what you're going to find is anything that's 25 years or younger, it's going to be on what we call microfiche. And all you need to do is learn how that microfiche machine works, and if you go at the right time, someone will help you. What I would do is make an appointment with someone to show you how to do it. So don't expect to go down there your first day and then have someone train you, because they may be busy. But if you can develop just that instant relationship and say, hey, look, I'd like to set up an appointment to learn the microfiche process, then they're going to be more apt to help you understand it. Okay? So that person is also going to be an extremely valuable person. The county recorder's office is where you can get information on real estate, liens, and encumbrances. Your title and escrow companies are going to give you that same information. Your real estate agents are going to give you that information. So these are all extremely important people to develop relationships with. Okay?
I have one question.
Yes.
This has to do with the comparable market analysis.
Yes.
I tried to do a refi on my home, and when they did the comps, the value of the house was greater than the comps that they had. So what standard would they use to say that you have a viable analysis of comparable homes and prices?
Did you have it appraised?
Yeah, I had it appraised.
Okay. He's saying that the comparable, he had his property refinanced, and the comparable market analysis was it less than what you thought? Okay, it was less than what he thought the property was worth, and then they had an appraiser come out, and did the appraiser appraise it at less than what you thought it was worth also? Okay. Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do about it. And it's going to have to do with your market at that time. And see, what he's saying is, look, see, here's the problem, folks, with L.A. right now, and California as a whole. You got properties that have a great, I mean, you'd all like to think your property is worth quite a bit now that you've invested in it and it's created equity and all that. So personally, all of you would like to keep your properties as high as you can. But unfortunately, if you can't sell it, what happens? The price goes down whether you want it to be $150,000 or not, or $200,000 or $250,000, whatever it might be. So what happens is the appraisers and the people who make decisions on how much your property is worth is only going to go by what's happening in your market, and unfortunately, your market is in a downswing. Therefore, you're losing money on real estate. What's happening currently in California is a lot of people are cashing out and moving to other states, or moving their money in different directions. And it's because your money is not worth, in your real estate, your equity is not worth what it was at one time. Okay? And we'll go through that a little bit further in the program. All right? Do I have any specific questions in regards to locating the property or developing relationships, that type of thing in the class at this point? We got one back here. Does the title insurance company have lists of foreclosures or delinquent properties? Not necessarily. You might find someone in that office that can support that, but more than likely they're only going to have information on those types of properties. So you have to find them at the county recorder's office first, okay, or through the bank, that type of thing. Now, if you buy an REO property, do you have to figure out what the liens are on the property? No, because there's no liens, right? The bank owns it.
If I were to pair up with an agent, how would I go about eliminating the broker fees?
If I was going to go pair up with an agent, how would I eliminate the broker fees?
My discount.
Okay, if I was going to, can an agent buy property in his own name? Okay, so if you want to do a partnership with someone who's an agent, then you certainly can. However, what happens if I'm writing a contract and I put down that I'm a real estate agent?
Higher standard.
you have a higher standard, which means, oh, he's a real estate agent and he must be interested in buying from me. There must be something wrong here. I must be doing something wrong. Why would a real estate agent be interested in my property? Obviously, they're knowledgeable. Does a real estate agent have to disclose the fact that they are a real estate agent on a contract? Yes. Absolutely. So, would I want to pair up then with a real estate agent and have them on my contract? Could I put them in a separate partnership, though? Yes. Okay, possibly. It depends on how you close the deal. If you close the deal through escrow and you are providing a service for that person, then you can do it. But if you do something on the side with a real estate agent, you need to be real careful because it is illegal for them to do any side deals.
Do you have to disclose you have a sales license if you're not practicing as an agent?
I'm sorry, ask the question again.
Do you have to disclose that you have a sales license if you're not practicing as a real estate agent?
If your license is current and you are a licensed agent, you must disclose it. Okay? Yes? Regardless of whether you are using it or not. Okay? The question was whether I'm using my real estate agent or not, or real estate license or not, do I have to disclose it? Yes, you do. Okay?
A question about a service like a daily commerce. Isn't that a publication that lists notice of default?
Ernie's got a great point. Thank you, Ernie. That's why I like asking questions in the class. He talks about a service, which is what we call a daily default service or a weekly default service. It's here in your area. The reason I haven't brought it up is because we're going to be talking about that a little bit later, and it'll be brought to your attention, okay? But it's a service provided through a private company which has a connection with the county recorder's office, and they sell it to you, basically, and it's also available on computer. So you can direct line right into the county recorder's office. Yes?
You purchase a property from the person who purchased the contract or from the person who has it for sale by owner. Can they, within a year, decide that they want their property back? And is there such a thing as, once you purchase the contract from them, can they decide later on that they don't want to go through with this within a year?
After I've already taken title of the property?
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry, what's your name?
Sharon.
Sharon has asked. Basically, the question that she asked is there a redemption period in California? Not that I'm aware of. And that means if I take title to a property and a year later they decide that they don't want to do the deal, they come up with the money, can they take it back? In some cases, in other states, there's what we call a redemption period, and yes, you can. In California, I'm not aware. You're a real estate agent, correct?
Yeah, 3-day redemption. Unless there's some illegal maneuvers.
Okay, unless there's some illegal maneuver, then there would be no redemption period in California. Also, there's a 3-day right of rescission. Actually, I believe there's a 5-day right of rescission on real estate. I'm not absolutely sure. 5 working days. Okay, question up here.
Yes, I found that if you're not either a real estate agent or associated with a real estate company, it's very hard to get a property profile. How do you go about doing that?
Okay. Your name? What?
Tony?
Tony has asked, she's found that if she doesn't have a license and she's not associated with some type of association with realty, that it's very difficult to get a property profile. If I want to sell my property and I want to do it for sale by owner, and I want to get some comparable markets for marketing my property, and I want to use a specific title company, then if I go to that title company and I say, I want to use your title company, will you provide me with a comparable market analysis? What are they going to say? Do you see what I'm saying? Because they're there in business. They want to sell you title insurance.
I've done that with the same company 3 or 4 times, and it absolutely refused.
Change companies.
Well, I've gone to 2 or 3 in the valley, and they just won't do it.
They're not going to provide you with a comparable market analysis?
Because they said they're so busy doing them for the real estate
Mm-hmm.
company, they don't have time to do them.
Then develop a relationship with a realtor if you're having a problem with that and get them to do it, or do it yourself and going to the county recorder's office and doing it yourself. This is a good point, and I want to make everybody aware of this, what Tony is coming against. See, Tony's coming against saying, look, I'm finding it real difficult to do this. Some of us are going to be able to because our BS mask is a little bit stronger, okay? We have a little bit more experience. We know what to say. What I found is that the fine line between success and failure in any business is about that much. I mean, it is a fine line. And the reason is because of one word that you use or one statement that you said or because of something that you did or your actions. And The only way that Tony is going to be able to develop her skills is by going out there and continuing to try and press, getting those comparable market analysis from different title insurance companies. If she can't do that, if for some reason she's not able to do that, then she needs to go in a different route. But how badly does Tony want to make money?
Greatly.
What?
Greatly.
Tony wants to make money real bad, so she's going to do whatever it takes to go out and do it, isn't she? Okay?
Just didn't know where else, what other avenues, because I knew that, I've only gotten 2 property profiles in 3 years out of the 3 companies I've gone to.
Have you closed deals with them?
They were not what we wanted to do.
Okay.
It was just a matter of getting the profiles. It's very difficult. And most of the time it was they don't want to deal with you because they've got too much that they're dealing with the real estate agents.
Right.
I didn't know that if you went through the real estate agents themselves, that
Yeah.
they were going to
Real estate agents have the same information in the county recorder's office. If you have some questions about that later, I'd be glad to talk with you personally on it. I got a question back here, Elwood, and then we'll come back up here. I got about 5 more minutes of questions. See, I like the question part of the program because what it does is I learn, you learn, we all learn, and that way we answer questions that maybe I haven't been able to put into a planned presentation. Yes, Valentine.
Yes, I heard you say that people has to be nice to real estate brokers and agents and all that. But in the contract of law, when they take their license, they say in the fiduciary duty that they had to be nice and honor people with dignity and respect. And you really don't get that from people. So how do you deal with that?
Each individual, okay, the question, Valentine, is that how I say that?
Valentine.
Valentine is asked, because they're licensed in real estate, they are under an oath to be nice to you, basically, is what she's saying. Well, if I'm under an oath and I'm not a very nice guy, do I have to be nice to you? But if I'm just a regular person like all of us sitting here today and we all want to be nice and develop relationships, what do we do to that person that's not nice? We go find someone else who is nice with us. It's an individual process, and each person that you work with, each person that you develop a relationship with is going to be different, whether they're licensed to be nice or not. So they do have certain laws and certain rules. If you don't like who you're working with, find someone else. The only way you can be successful is by surrounding yourselves with who? Successful people. People who want to do business with you. People who see the same light in your eyes, the people who see the same determination in your skin to go out and put the deal together no matter whether you have money or you don't have money, and you want it, they see that you have the desire and ambition to do it. Okay? Elwood had a question.
I just wanted to give some input to this lady over here. I've had no problem at all in getting property profiles, and I identified myself, and initially I told them I've just relocated here to the West Coast. I'm a real estate investor, and I wish to establish a relationship, and I would like to request profiles on now and in the future, and I've had nothing but success in that.
Okay, so this, you know, we can go over this on an individual level, but this is a perfect example of what I said earlier. We're all individuals, we're all going to have a different BS mask, and we're all going to have to work through it, and whatever it takes to make money is what it's going to take to put this deal together. Yeah.
Yeah, you said earlier that the only entity that can go ahead of a first is tax default.
The county taxes.
Right. The last couple of days there have been notices in the newspaper about tax default properties.
Right.
Do you pay the back taxes and then
You're going to have to pay up the taxes in order to release the liens.
you take first?
And then you could take first title based on, if you have a first mortgage and the taxes have jumped in front of you, got to pay the taxes, but then you also have to satisfy the first. Okay? Unless they've taken it back and they own the property. If they own the property, Tony Martinez is the guy you want to talk to on tax sales. Okay? Yeah, Ron.
I just missed one part of the equation here, a general question. If we're looking for the discount value of foreclosure or potentially foreclosure property, why are we even interested in property that's just in the general market? Are we going to be able to buy that at a sufficient discount? It doesn't seem likely.
Ron, I'm going to show you, as soon as our break is over, a way that you can still make money on real estate without having to buy at a discount, a huge discount. Secondly, it depends. You never know what you're going to come across. And there's one more question. We got to take a break, and that goes to Vincent.
In reference to the lady with the title company, I found that most of them said that bring the deal to them. They'll do the analysis for you.
Okay? This is an excellent point Vincent has made, and he says if you bring the deal to them, they will give you the property analysis. If you bring the deal to the title company, it will help you get the market analysis. Okay? Does that make sense? The question, he's not really asking a question, he's making a statement, and that is the same as what we're going to tell you all weekend, and the same that I've told you this morning. Step 1 is what, folks? What? Step 2 is analyze and inspect, and step 3 is, have I looked for any money at this point? But as soon as I take all that information, I need to put it down on what? Paper. I take that paper and then I present it to somebody. Okay? You don't just go ask people for money. Can I have $100,000? Okay, one last question, then we gotta go.
Did you say there's a program to link you via computer to the county recorder's office?
Via the daily default service, there is a computer program which you will be able to link into on your computer, and we'll talk about that later. Go ahead and take a break, folks. Let's make it quick, though. 10 minutes maximum. I will be starting at 20 minutes until 11. If you call the 1-800 number that's up on the board and you ask for any one of these people after 10 o'clock any day, Monday through Friday, my challenge to you is this: you will have an answer to your question, or you at least receive someone at the other end of the line who will find the answer to your question. Many times we're working with people who are at a payphone, who are putting the deal together. They're working with the bank, they're working with the title company, they're working with the county recorder's office, they're working with all kinds of different people in the field, and from any payphone in the country, you can call us on our 800 number. But remember, I'm challenging you. We're open at 9. Okay, we're open at 9. We're there from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then you can even reach us on Saturday at times from about 10 to 3. That's going to be kind of a hit and miss, but we try and keep it open from 10 to 3. Alan? Reno is the same time zone. Okay? My challenge, though, is if you call after 10, you're going to reach one of us, and you're going to get your answer to your question. All right? So it's not your normal program. It's not your program where you call in and get a tape recording or something like that. You're dealing with live people, and please be nice and develop relationships with them, too, because they're just learning, some of them. All right? So there's some names up here. I would suggest that if you can read it, write it down. When you get the video, you'll have it in front of you, so don't panic. Let's review just a little bit. One of the things that came up during the question and answer period during the break was someone had mentioned to me that some title companies will go online with you over a computer in your own home. So some of you might want to research that. In the bigger cities, you're going to find that. Okay? The other thing that I want to make clear is this. When a property has a notice of default against it, who still owns the property? The property owners, correct? During the 120-day process before the auction, who owns the property? The property owners. When it goes to the auction and is purchased at the auction, who then owns the property? Whoever purchased it. Okay? Now, if the bank owns the property, if the bank buys the property back, then who owns the property? The bank. If the bank owns the property, are there any additional liens against it? No. So when you buy a property from a bank, do you have to do a title search on your own to really get into specifics on additional encumbrances? No. So that's a safe way to purchase properties. However, if you buy at an auction, are you liable for additional liens and encumbrances against the property? Yes, you are. So be very careful with that. Sometimes it will even be disclosed that no title insurance will be issued on properties bought at auctions. Therefore, you have to go out and pay off the liens or get it cleaned up and hope that a title insurance company will give you title insurance on that property. So a lot of title insurance companies will not give title insurance on properties that have been purchased at auctions. All right? Question?
Yeah, I heard about that. When the home goes to an auction, what if the owner had left the country and declared bankruptcy later, and whether or not the home, when you return and you purchased at an auction and then declared bankruptcy, could they just repossess it?
Okay. I'm not familiar with law. I'm not an attorney, and I don't claim to be one. So any information I give you this weekend is going to be based on my own personal experience and what I know. If you need consultant, talk to an attorney. However, what I would say to that is, if a person doesn't make their payments on the property is going to be repossessed. Period. No matter whether they're out of the country, whether they've declared bankruptcy, eventually that property is going to be repossessed and go back to the original owner because they have the original lien on the property. Okay? All right. So this morning, yes, one more question. When you're purchasing a property in auction, you're also purchasing everything that goes with it. You would have to clean it up after you purchase it or not purchase it based on the research you did going into it. Okay? All right. So that first section that we went through was locating the property. Okay? Now, the second step in the program is a physical and financial analysis. All right? And in that physical and financial analysis, one thing that I don't really cover specifically in my class is your development of properties as far as the physical development of the property and repairs. What we've done is we have provided you with information in the package which helps you understand basics of property and the way that it's built, so that you can go through and understand property and the way that it has been constructed. But we don't go into specifics in regards to you know, how to bid on a property or how much it's going to cost you. It's all going to be based on your own particular area, your own particular property. The book that we use is going to be your Investor's Inspection Guide. And also, Joe Marino put out a book. Did you guys get your $39 worth last week? Okay, obviously you did, or you wouldn't be here today, right? Second thing is, don't judge a book by its cover. There is a book. It's the little yellow book on how to evaluate your property. That book is probably one of the most, it's only this thick. Here we go, right here. Property Decision Maker Worksheet. Best book I've ever read on analyzing property and putting together comparable market analysis. The reason? In the front of the book gives you the tables. Okay? The front of the book gives you the tables, and they're filled out for you. So this one here is your this is your appraisal sheet. This is your competitive comparable market analysis worksheet based on the information that you've obtained through your different relationships that you've developed. And the best part about this book is it shows you exactly how to fill it out. Name. In the space where it says name, I want you to put the name of the real estate office involved with that property or the name of the person who owns that property. Date. Now, see where it says date? Let's put a date down. Okay? Is that simple enough for everybody? That's how simple this program is, folks. Don't make it more difficult than it actually is. It's a step-by-step process. People have been buying and selling real estate as owners for over 200 years, and I'm telling you right now, it's just that simple. It hasn't changed a bit. It's just that the real estate agents have a lot more disclosures in their forms and contracts that they have to go through. You don't. Okay? So if you're buying as owners, you're not doing anything different than has ever been done before. Now, anybody in construction, development, right here? What's your name?
Sherman.
Sherman? Nice to meet you, Sherman. Sherman, I got this deal. And I think I can make about $10,000, and all I want to do is sell the contract on it. But I've never done a deal before. I don't really know much about it. But I've got some information I'd like to show you. And if I can show you this information, and you can see where it might be a viable investment, would you be willing to invest, let's say, 2 to 3 hours of your time to go out and look at my property that I found and maybe do just a small inspection to get started to make sure that you also agree that it would be a good deal. And then at the close of that deal, if you and I, Sherman, could put that together, would you be willing to split the profit with me? At the close of the deal, though I don't have $5,000 for you right now.
Yes.
Would you be willing to do that? Anybody else be willing to do that that's in construction? See how easy it is? Do I have to know anything about construction? Do I have to know anything about development of property? Nope. All I have to do is find a guy like Sherman who's interested in splitting the deal. If I'm going to make $10,000 or even $5,000 on my first deal in the next 6 months, am I willing to split the deal with Sherman if he can put together a major portion of my property analysis? Yes. Why not? I made $2,500. I just got my $1,000 back, plus I made another additional $1,500 to reinvest. Okay? So that's where I would like to go with you guys as far as redevelopment and construction of property or fix it and repair. One of the things that we're trying to accomplish, and this is going to be presented to you by Craig later on today, is an investor package. Now through step one that we've just gone through as far as locating the property, and now we're in step two as far as analyzing and inspecting the property, that information is what we call due diligence. And I think I'll write that on the board. Due diligence. Due diligence, all that means is do your homework on time. In any real estate contract, in any real estate deal, time is of the essence. Would all of you agree that, that timing is everything? Timing is everything, folks. And if you find a deal, are you going to go out and work on it tomorrow or today? Today. Okay? Today is the day that it's going to happen, not tomorrow. Tomorrow someone's going to take it away from you. All right? So due diligence is an extremely important process, and what I call it is a due diligence package. Now, Craig calls it an investor package, and we're going to be going through that later on today. But what it is it's taking that analysis, both physically and financially, creating a contract, and then putting it onto paper, just like you would turn in a report that was going to make or break your graduation from college. Okay? That report is your master's report or whatever your research report is that's going to put you into the graduate level that you want to be on. And that's what is going to be important to you as far as developing a due diligence package or an investor package. And we're going to go through that a little bit this afternoon with Craig. But that's the goal that we're trying to create, especially when we're selling contracts. Because with that investor package, we're going to have a lot more information than just walking up to someone and asking them to borrow money, aren't we? And they're actually going to see the deal right in front of them. And we're going to have it completely physically and financially analyzed. So that's what's important. It's a very, very simple process. All you really need is a typewriter, a computer, and for those of you who don't have either one of them, Kinko's has them for $10 an hour. So get all your information written down, go into Kinko's, ask them how to turn on the machine, put it on paper, bind it up, somewhat like Joe's done in his little books, or like you would in college, and then you've got something to present to the investor. That's extremely important. So due diligence is going to be a major portion of your success. Now, what happens if we don't create a contract prior to letting someone know about the deal? It can and will be stolen. That's my experience. All right? So in step two, we want to develop relationships with general contractors and developers. On the financial analysis, Wes Simmons, as I told you earlier, will be able to do a complete financial and professional analysis for you absolutely free out of the office. Dante has developed probably one of the best financial professional analysis programs that I've ever seen. If you want to purchase that program, it is available, and you need to call Wes or call customer service to find out. I have no idea what it costs. Yes? That's its extension, 108. Okay? You're going to know more about your comparable market analysis through the newspaper and looking at your markets, watching the rents, watching the values of properties going up and down, and staying on top of that. So you want to keep files for yourself on a daily basis as far as what you're doing in understanding the newspaper and what you're getting out of there in the areas that you want to invest. Your agents are going to be extremely important in your comparable market analysis. They are going to be the ones who are going to help you the most, in my opinion. I would develop relationships with those people. Customer service at your title company, we've gone through that. I think we understand it. They are going to help you also with your CMA. They're going to be very, very important in your success and your direction. The last thing I have on here is what we call pity merv. Okay? For those of you who can't see from the top to the bottom, it is called pity merv, and that is P-I-T-I-M-U-R-V. Make sure you have it. It is not in the books. It is the analysis formula that you will utilize all the time. P-I-T-I-M-U-R-V. Pity merv. Easy to remember. Pity merv. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, management, utilities, repairs, and vacancies. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, management, utilities, repairs, vacancies. I'll move this up. Everybody have that? Anybody that does not have it in the back? You guys all right? Okay. One of the things you're going to hear this weekend is a lot of personal stories. I told you a little bit about myself in the beginning of the program. You're going to hear from Tony. You're going to hear from Reese. You're going to hear from Craig. You're going to hear from Eric. You're going to hear from myself. What I want you to know is, even though we're teaching you formulas and we're giving you a lot of good ideas as to how to go out and do this thing, and you know, I can only be so specific and so general for classes because we've only got so much time with so much information. And I'll tell you what happens is at the end of the weekend, everybody says to me, boy, there's so much information, I don't think I'm going to get it all. And a lot of times I feel like I'm giving it basic and I'm giving it as general as possible, but I know that what I'm teaching you guys is filling a lot of you folks' head. So what we also include is a lot of personal stories, a lot of personal experience with you. And I think that you have to realize that that is as much important as the basic or the specific information that I'm giving you, and that you should really take to heart some of the stories that you hear. Because most of the people you're going to hear from have been broke. They came into the organization the same way I did. They have worked extremely hard to get where they are today. And these people, I mean, you guys just don't realize who you're dealing with right now. You're dealing with a company that is at the cutting edge of real estate investing in this country. There is no other company like ours in this nation, period. Dante Perano has taken everything that everybody else has done and fixed their mistakes. Every other program that's out there that's offered books and tapes in the past are great programs, don't get me wrong. They all have great information. They all have a lot of good benefits to their companies, I'm sure. But none of them have gone out and purchased in bulk and allowed their associates to come in and become a part of that association. And that's what keeps us all moving forward, and that's why we have the desire to continue helping you. And so when you hear these personal stories and they seem similar or they seem to affect you in one form or another, take that in as much as you do the actual information that you're getting, because it's important for your motivation. It's important for your direction. If you are not motivated and you're not ready to take that bungee jump on a regular basis, then you're going to have a hard time making a lot of money. Okay? Now, one of the stories that I like to tell you is about a property, my first property that I purchased. I went through a lot of time trying to put together my first deal. And I was not successful, and I probably went for 4 or 5 months before I was able to do it. And during that time, of course, I was successful in landing a job in Dante's office, which I was happy with and certainly learned a lot with. But what happened about 6 months after I got involved with the program is anybody mind if I take my jacket off? What happened was I was told that I was moving to Reno, Nevada from California. And I had no idea that I wanted to move there or whether I didn't want to move there, but I was living with my parents, and I knew that what Dante had told me so far was absolutely true, and that as long as I followed along with him, I'd probably be safe. So the first thing I did was what? First thing I did was I pulled out this book, and I went to Reno, Nevada, and I went through all the phone calls. Now, there weren't that many, but I went through all of them that were in there. And in locating property, what you're going to find is it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle or a trail that you follow. You're going to find disconnected numbers. You're going to find properties that haven't been there for 2 years. You're going to find people that haven't been there for 10 years. You're going to find all kinds of stuff. But that doesn't have anything to do with your success. What has to do with your success is your ability to go in and find out where that person is now, who the person in charge is, whether the bank is still alive, whether the bank has REO properties, and your success is based on following that little path along the way. So what I did was I made these phone calls, and I got a hold of a bank where a guy named Phil Klink used to work, and they told me now he's the broker at this real estate company in Reno, Nevada. So I got a hold of Phil, and I told Phil, I said, Phil, I said, and of course, I had a pretty good-sized BS mask at this point. I still didn't have any money, but I knew a lot more about what I was talking about being on the phone and working in Dante's organization than I did before. So, and plus I'd been out working on deals and that type of thing. I still didn't have a lot of money. I still wasn't divorced. I still hadn't found my baby. I still hadn't, accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish, but I knew I was moving in the right direction. And just the feeling of owning your own home outside of renting gives you that extra burst. Is anybody in here interested in owning their own property? Everybody, right? We all want to own our property. We don't want to pay these high rents, especially if you live in a city like LA where property values are going down and rents are going up. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But at the same time, it's better than paying rent. So I called up Phil and I said, Phil, I'm involved in a real estate investment company. I don't have a lot of money of my own to invest. However, I have quite a few people that I work with who do. And that's one of the statements I would suggest that you use when you're making your phone calls. How many of you have $5 on you? How many of you have $5 anywhere? Everybody, right? So I got a little bit of my own money I'd like to invest, but I got other people that I'd like to bring into the deal as well. Fair enough? Am I lying? Nope. I got $5 I'd like to invest. Okay? So I go to Phil, I say, Phil, I got a little bit of money I'd like to invest, and I work with an investment company that I think could benefit you also. If you would be willing to take me out and show me some properties, I'd like to look at some properties, and I think that I could turn some other people onto you as well. Do you think Phil was interested in taking me out? If I told him I had 15 or 20 millionaires that I'd like to bring out and show property to? Absolutely. Okay? So we went out for a little drive, and we looked at probably 10 properties, and the first two that we looked at, actually the first three that we looked at, were in this little subdivision in Reno, and it's the old Reno landfill. Now, does anybody know what happens when you build property on a landfill? The property sinks, right? What happens to the structure of the property? It starts to do this, right? So you got windows like this and doors like this, and it cracks the houses and that type of thing. Well, it didn't happen to all the properties, but it happened to 3 specific properties. And that development, because of some of the problems in that development, went under. But then the boost of the market in Reno obviously turned that particular property development around, except for the 3 properties that were in there still owned by, they actually weren't owned by the RTC, they were in conservatorship of the RTC. The bank that I bought them from was in receivership of the properties based on the fact that they had some non-performing assets and the RTC was looking over them to make sure that they got their money back on those properties. So what happened was he showed me these 3 properties. Now, besides the fact that it was on the landfill, it was also in what we call an indigent graveyard or a cemetery. And what that was if you go up on the hills above Reno, you can see the trail. And at night, if you look at it, you can see the trail from Virginia City and Carson City right in through Harold's Club, and you can just imagine these wagon trains coming in there and people, expiring on the way, because it's just a huge desert as you go through. So what happened was these indigent people who came in, they had no idea who they were, they had no idea where they belonged, and they had died somewhere in Reno along the way during the early 1800s, late 1800s, and so they buried them there. Well, all the bodies were exhumed, everything was taken care of beforehand, and it's all in the Phase 1 report. Now, a Phase 1 report is something that an engineer does on a property development prior to the building. Do you know why they do that? So that we can do a survey or an engineering survey to show the viability of building on that property. If they put a lot of negative in there, what then is the engineer able to do? A Phase 2 report, right? So you see a lot of negative in Phase 1s. I'm just telling you that so that you don't let yourself get a little caught off guard based on a Phase 1 report if you ever pick one of those up. Because a lot of times they put the negatives in there so they can do a Phase 2 and a Phase 3. Now, the burial ground thing didn't bother me. I mean, it was no big deal. I'm not into poltergeist, that type of thing, so it doesn't really matter. And I don't think it really matters to a lot of people who are trying to overcome their fears in investing in real estate anyway. The only thing that had me bothered was this landfill problem. The thing was, though, and again, I said timing is everything. The RTC went in and put adjustable steel jacks underneath this home, so that anytime there was any kind of settlement, we could go in and adjust it. Fair enough? Good rental property? Who cares? As long as it doesn't fall into a big hole, I'm okay, right? I've been there 2 years. I can still shut the doors just fine. There's no cracks. They also went in and put $10,000 worth of new carpet, new paint, and redeveloped the inside of this property because it was the sales office for this subdivision at one time. So timing is everything. I had made the phone call. Dante told me that I was moving to Reno. I said, let's do this thing. I got into the property. They had just gone in and done a whole new redevelopment of this particular piece of property because they couldn't sell it before. People were saying, I'm not going to buy a property that's on a graveyard and is sinking and all this other stuff. I'll pay $20,000 for it. Well, do you think the RTC would take $20,000 in a property that's in an up market? No, they're going to sit there and wait on it, right? So what I did was I finally went in and made an offer. Now, when I made the offer, I did the analyzation and inspection through the Phase 1 report and through the real estate agent. Everything was disclosed to me. I knew what I was getting into. Now, a little bit about the property. I got a large master bedroom and a bathroom in that master bedroom. Then I got a kitchen, and then I got another small bedroom with a bathroom outside. So it's 2 bedroom, 2 bath. But both bedrooms are on both sides of the kitchen. Good rental property? Yes? Okay? Good rental property because the bedrooms all have their own entrances as well. The master bedroom has a sliding glass door entrance, and the little bedroom has French door entrances. So you got your own key. Everything is perfect for as far as 2 people living in the same quarters. Now, if I want to own my own property, I'm willing to do just about anything that I can to get into that deal. Okay? I got no money. I'm paying off my $20,000 in debt. I want to buy my own property, and I want to see if this program really works. Now, the example that I'm giving you is to keep this program simple. It's also to let you know that you don't have to go out and be a master negotiator at 50 cents on the dollar to make money in real estate. And I think that's one of the things that you find in a lot of these other programs is they'll really hype you up on being able to buy property at big dollars and make all kinds of money right away. Well, I'm under the understanding, and I believe, that if you'll just make $5,000 in the next 6 months, put a deal under your belt, and feel good about yourself, that big deal will come down the road. It's not an overnight success type of story, folks. I mean, this is not the lotto. This is you're going out and you're developing relationships in a business for yourself. And if you want to become a millionaire and you want to make a lot of money, whether you want to be a millionaire or not, you still have to do the work of the person or the work that it takes to get to that level that you're setting for yourself. So I was willing to do whatever it took.
I finally see exactly the path that I'm going to take for the rest of my life.
I'll recommend Dante's program to all my friends and associations and family. Believe me, I'm a police officer, and I know a steal when I see one.
I think the thing that impressed me the most about the program was the knowledge of all the individuals that spoke today. They knew what they were speaking of, and they got that across to me. I have attended a number of seminars, and it didn't move me as much as this. I feel very elated and wanting to go on with this seminar. So I do intend to take some of their other courses and tours, and I think, too, I want to include some of my friends and some family members, involve them in this, because I'm very, very impressed by the whole program that they've given today.
What impressed me most about this seminar is that these instructors are doing it. They're not just talking about it. And Dante's organization is on the cutting edge of what's going on in the real estate market, and I want to be a part of it.
Most thing I learned about this seminar is there's so many different ways to get rich. And I believe everybody can literally get rich on any one of them.
I bought a parcel of property in Oklahoma on Saturday, the first day of the seminar. I called an associate, a friend of mine, explained to him what I was doing. He bought half interest in that. I recovered my investment plus a little pocket change. So I found out that it works. I just did what they told me to do, and it worked. And I'm just elated.